Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our 17th annual Nurse Tech Symposium. Can you believe it? 17 years. Can't believe it. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Beth Oliver. I'm the Vice President for Cardiac Services for Mount Sinai Heart, as well as the Mount Sinai Health System. And it's my privilege today to MC our fantastic program. I also wanted to welcome our new health partners into our health system, the Mount Sinai BI and the Mount Sinai St. Luke's Roosevelt. We're really thrilled that you're here today. So we really want to make this like a TV show today and more interactive. So you all have your clickers, and we're going to do a couple of test questions so that we can get people used to using the device. Okay? So as you can see, you indicate your response by clicking on the button, okay? So it's A, B, C, D, E. So I'm going to now do the questions. We're going to have our first test question. Okay. Indicate your role by clicking the appropriate letter. A, nurse, B, tech, C, physician, D, other. We just want to get some demographics. So can you please click away? It's like Jeopardy, right? We need the Jeopardy music. Okay. Wow, all right. All right, 77 nurses. We've got 17% techs. Excellent. We're really thrilled. Okay, our second question, please. Where are you from? A, the Mount Sinai Hospital, B, the Mount Sinai Health System, C, other New York City hospital, D, out of state, or E, outside of the United States? Do the music. Do. Somebody has an iPhone, maybe we could get that music. YouTube it. Right, next year, exactly. Always improving. Okay. All right, 50% from the health system. And out of state, 29%. Excellent. Thank you very much for coming. Great. Okay, and our third question is, will the New York Rangers win the Stanley Cup? A, yes. B, no way. C, who are the New York Rangers? And D, I have no opinion. Okay. All right. 30% yes, 40% no way, 10% who are the New York Rangers, and 20% I have no opinion. Okay, so you guys know how to use it. Okay, so I'm going to start my talk today, and I'm going to be speaking about clinical practice guidelines, the why, the when, and the how. And this is an introduction because later on after lunch, 3 of our esteemed physicians are going to be discussing the latest in guidelines on cholesterol, on blood pressure control, and heart-healthy lifestyle. So just to give everybody just a general overview. Not disclosing anything? Okay. So clinical guidelines are a good fit for nurses and techs. Clinical practice guidelines aim to standardize treatment choices as much as possible to reduce variations in practice which can cause patient harm and poor outcomes. Nursing has a long history of utilizing standardization in its practice, and nursing practice is evolving to be increasingly evidence-based. And for those of you who don't know, we just went through our second magnet redesignation last week. And new knowledge is a component of the magnet model, which is fully devoted to integrating research evidence into practice. Magnet organizations are required to demonstrate that nursing practice is evidence-based and are also required to have active structures and processes in place to support research and evidence-based practice. So what are clinical practice guidelines? Well, the Institute of Medicine defines clinical practice guidelines as statements that include recommendations intended to optimize patient care, informed by a systematic review of evidence and an assessment of the benefits and harms of alternative care options. They are systematically developed statements designed to assist practitioners and patients in decision-making about health care for specific clinical circumstances. They are intended to offer concise instructions on how to provide health care services. Why are they necessary? Well, there's an ever-accelerating explosion of new information and research findings every day. As a matter of fact, the Institute of Medicine has noted that the number of randomized controlled trials published in Medline grew from 5,000 per year in 1978 to 1986 to 25,000 per year in 1994 to 2001, and the number is certainly higher now. It's impossible to keep up with this rapidly expanding knowledge base. Many factors enter into decision-making. There are a wide variety of available treatments. Which are the most effective? What are the benefits and the harms? And how solid is the evidence supporting these? Clinical practice guidelines are intended to help in decision-making by systematically and rigorously evaluating the available research and clinical evidence and making recommendations based upon it. What are the advantages of clinical practice guidelines? They standardize treatment. They reduce the uncertainty in clinical decision-making through rigorous evaluation of evidence. They reduce potential to reduce harm from treatments not supported by research, and they have the potential to improve patient care and patient outcomes, most importantly. So what are the criticisms of guidelines? Well, they're disease-oriented and they're not patient-oriented. Guidelines may be based on research performed on only a small portion of a whole population, and the results may not be valid for all members of the population. For example, with heart disease, most research in the past, although it is changing, has been performed on males, and the results are not completely applicable to females, although that is changing. And the other criticism that they're cookbook medicine, and one size does not fit all. There are guidelines, and then there are guidelines. There's a lot of variability in the processes used to develop guidelines. Some are more rigorous than others. Historically, guidelines have been developed by informal consensus, which is a discussion among panel of experts, formal consensus process, a more rigorous process of gathering expert opinion, or, as we're moving more and more towards this, which is evidence-based process, a process that turns clinical problems into questions and then systematically searches and locates current research findings as the basis for clinical decisions. In addressing the variability and the criticism of the guidelines, in 2001, the Institute of Medicine published Clinical Practice Guidelines We Can Trust, and articulated criteria for trustworthy guidelines. And they are that they are based on a systematic review of the existing evidence, that they're developed by a knowledgeable, multidisciplinary panel of experts and representatives from key affected groups, consider important patient subgroups and patient preferences as important, that they're based on an explicit and transparent process that minimizes distortions, biases, and conflicts of interest, that they provide a clear explanation of the logical relationship between alternative care options and health outcomes, excuse me, and that they provide ratings of both the quality of evidence and the strength of recommendations, and that they reconsider and revise as appropriate when important new evidence warrants modification of recommendations. And as you can see from this, from the quality of evidence pyramid, that the systematic review is the gold standard. That is the one that is the most trustworthy, has the more evidence-based research, and the least is background information or expert opinion. So for those of you, the nurses and the techs, or you're in your clinical practice and you're interested in, well, why are they doing something, you can actually access the current clinical practice guidelines. And there are 3 listed here. There are many more, but these are like the 3 common ones, the most popular. The first is the U.S. National Guideline Clearinghouse. It's an extensive database of evidence-based clinical practice guidelines, which includes level of evidence and the ability to select and compare guidelines, and the website's here. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force recommendations, sponsored by the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. They systematically review the latest evidence of effectiveness and develop recommendations for clinical preventive services. And the one that's really popular, I think, by many of our clinicians is Up to Date, a comprehensive evidence-based clinical information resource available on the internet. It provides concise, practical answers to a multitude of medical problems. So now I'm going to put on my questions, so get ready with your clickers. Okay, question 1 is, what are the advantages of clinical practice guidelines? A, they help standardize treatment. B, they introduce research findings into clinical practice. C, potential to reduce harm. D, may improve patient care and patient outcomes, or E, all of the above. Okay, gotta put up music. Do. All right. Okay, and the answer is, can we go to the answer? All right, very good, all of the above. All right, yay, all right. The next question, good web resources for locating clinical guidelines include all of the following except A, up to date, B, National Guidelines Clearinghouse, C, United States Preventive Services Task Force, or D, YouTube. Okay, and the answer is, okay, thank you, YouTube. Okay, so now I would like to introduce you to the Mount Sinai Heart team. We're going to show you a brief video, and I'll be back to introduce our first speaker. Thank you.
Make the stars look like they're not shining. Her hair falls perfectly without her trying. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every day. Yeah, I know, when I compliment her, she won't believe me. And it's so sad to think that she don't see what I see. But every time she asks me, do I look okay, I say, when I see your face, there's not a thing that I would change, 'cause you're amazing, just the way you are. And when you smile, the whole world stops and stares for a while, 'cause girl, you're amazing, just the way you are. Yeah. Her lips, I could kiss them all day if she'd let me. Her laugh, she hates, but I think it's so sexy. She's so beautiful, and I tell her every